A single dad was having breakfast with his daughter when two dangerous men grabbed a scared woman at the next table. In just 15 seconds, he stopped both attackers with incredible fighting skills. Everyone was shocked. They had no idea this quiet computer repairman was actually a highly trained Navy SEAL. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. Marcus Reynolds lived a quiet life in the small town of Riverside. Every morning, he woke up at 5:30 a.m. He made breakfast for his 7-year-old daughter, Emma. He packed her lunch with a sandwich, apple slices, and a juice box. He walked her to the school bus stop and watched until the yellow bus disappeared around the corner. Then Marcus went to work at the local computer repair shop. He fixed laptops and desktop computers. He helped elderly customers understand their smartphones. He installed security software and removed viruses. It was simple work. It was peaceful work. It was very different from his old life. Marcus was 34 years old. He was tall with broad shoulders and short dark hair that was always neat and clean. He had dark eyes that seemed to notice everything around him. When he walked, he moved with purpose and awareness. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady. People in Riverside knew Marcus as a good father and a helpful neighbor. They knew he volunteered at Emma's school. They knew he helped Mrs. Patterson carry her groceries. They knew he shoveled snow from the sidewalks of elderly neighbors in winter. But most people did not know Marcus's past. They did not know about the 9 years he spent as a Navy SEAL. They did not know about the dangerous missions in countries most Americans could not find on a map. They did not know about the training that turned him into a weapon. They did not know about the battles he fought or the lives he saved. Marcus kept that part of himself hidden. He left the Navy 2 years ago after his wife Laura died suddenly from a heart condition. Emma was only 5 years old when she lost her mother. Marcus made a choice that day. He chose to leave the military. He chose to be a full-time father. He chose peace over war. Now he lived for Emma. Everything he did was for Emma. Every decision he made was for Emma's happiness and safety. On Saturday mornings, Marcus and Emma had a special tradition. They went to Danny's Diner on Main Street. Emma always ordered chocolate chip pancakes with extra whipped cream. Marcus always ordered black coffee and scrambled eggs with toast. They sat in the same booth by the window and talked about Emma's week at school. This particular Saturday started like all the others. The autumn sun was bright. The air was cool and fresh. Emma wore her favorite purple jacket with sparkles. She talked excitedly about her art project at school. "Daddy, Mrs. Anderson said my drawing was the best in the whole class," Emma said, bouncing in her seat. "She put it on the wall for everyone to see." "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Marcus said, smiling at his daughter. "What did you draw?" "I drew our house. And I drew you and me in the front yard. And I drew Mommy in the sky watching us." Emma's face was full of joy and innocence. Marcus's heart squeezed tight. Even after 2 years, talking about Laura still hurt. But he never let Emma see that pain. "I'm sure Mommy loved seeing that picture," Marcus said gently. "She's very proud of you." They finished their breakfast. Emma colored on her placemat with the crayons the restaurant provided. Marcus read the local newspaper and sipped his coffee. Everything was normal. Everything was peaceful. Then the door of the diner opened, and everything changed. A young woman rushed into the diner. She was breathing hard like she had been running. Her curly brown hair was messy. Her green eyes were wide with fear. She looked behind her at the street outside, then quickly moved to an empty booth near the back. Marcus noticed her immediately. Years of military training made him aware of everything around him. He saw the fear in her face. He saw the way her hands shook as she picked up a menu. He saw the way she kept looking at the door. The woman's name was Sophie Martinez. She was 28 years old. She had moved to Riverside 3 months ago to escape a bad situation in the city. She worked as a freelance graphic designer. She lived in a small apartment above the bookstore on Main Street. She kept to herself mostly, trying to build a new, quiet life. But her past had followed her to Riverside. Two men entered the diner a minute after Sophie. They were both large and muscular. They wore leather jackets and jeans. They had tattoos covering their arms. One had a scar across his left cheek. The other had mean eyes that scanned the restaurant until they found Sophie. Marcus watched them. He recognized the type immediately. Predators, dangerous men looking for trouble. The two men walked directly to Sophie's booth. The one with the scar, his name was Jake, slid into the seat across from Sophie, blocking her exit. The other man, Tony, stood at the end of the booth, arms crossed, creating a barrier. "Well, well, well," Jake said with a cruel smile. "Look who we found. Little Sophie, hiding in a small town, thinking we wouldn't find her." Sophie's face went pale. "Leave me alone, Jake. I don't want any trouble." "You don't want trouble?" Jake laughed. It was not a nice laugh. "You owe my brother money, Sophie. $10,000. Did you think you could just run away and forget about that debt?" "I don't owe anyone anything," Sophie said, her voice shaking but trying to sound brave. "Your brother lied. I paid him back everything I borrowed. He's trying to scam me." "That's not what he says," Tony growled. "And we're here to collect. You can pay us now, or we can make things very difficult for you." Jake reached across the table and grabbed Sophie's wrist. His grip was tight and painful. "Let go of me," Sophie said, trying to pull away. But Jake held on tighter. Other customers in the diner noticed what was happening. Some looked away, not wanting to get involved. Some whispered to each other. Mary, the waitress, looked worried but scared to approach the men. Marcus watched everything. He calculated the situation in seconds. Two large men. One clearly violent. A woman in danger. Other civilians nearby who could get hurt if things escalated. Emma was still coloring, unaware of the tension in the restaurant. Marcus made his decision. He stood up calmly. He walked to Sophie's booth with steady, confident steps. His face showed no emotion. His body language showed no fear. "Excuse me," Marcus said in a calm, clear voice. "I think the lady asked you to let her go." Jake and Tony looked up at Marcus. They saw a man in jeans and a plain blue sweater. They saw someone who looked ordinary. They saw someone they thought they could intimidate. "Mind your own business," Jake said, not releasing Sophie's wrist. "This doesn't concern you." "I'm making it my business," Marcus said. His voice was still calm, but now there was steel underneath it. "Let her go. Leave the restaurant. Do it now." Tony stepped forward, trying to get into Marcus's personal space. He was taller than Marcus by 2 inches. He tried to use his size to intimidate. "Or what?" Tony challenged. "What are you going to do about it, old man?" Marcus didn't blink. He didn't step back. He looked Tony directly in the eyes. "You don't want to find out," Marcus said quietly. Something in Marcus's eyes made Tony hesitate. Something in Marcus's stance made Tony's instinct scream danger. But Tony was too proud to back down in front of everyone. "I think you should walk away," Tony said, putting his hand on Marcus's chest to push him back. What happened next took 15 seconds. Marcus moved faster than anyone expected. His hand shot up and trapped Tony's hand against his chest. With a quick twisting motion, Marcus applied pressure to Tony's wrist in a joint lock. Tony gasped in pain and dropped to one knee. Jake released Sophie and lunged across the booth toward Marcus. Marcus shifted his weight, released Tony, and in one smooth motion caught Jake's arm in midair. Using Jake's own momentum against him, Marcus redirected the larger man's energy and sent him crashing face-first into the table. Tony tried to recover and swing a punch at Marcus's head. Marcus ducked under the wild swing, stepped inside Tony's guard, and delivered 3 precise strikes, one to the solar plexus that drove the air from Tony's lungs, one to the side of his knee that buckled his leg, and one palm strike to the center of his chest that sent him stumbling backward into a chair. Jake pushed himself up from the table, blood streaming from his nose where it hit the hard surface. He reached into his jacket, and Marcus saw the handle of a knife. Marcus closed the distance in 2 fast steps. His hand clamped down on Jake's wrist before the knife cleared the jacket. Marcus twisted the wrist sharply. There was a crunching sound. Jake screamed and dropped to the floor, cradling his broken wrist. Tony tried one more time. He picked up a chair and charged at Marcus with a roar of rage. Marcus waited until the last second. Then he sidestepped smoothly, grabbed the chair, and used Tony's momentum to help him run directly into the wall. Tony hit the wall hard and slid to the floor, dazed and defeated. The entire confrontation took 15 seconds from start to finish. The diner was completely silent. Everyone stared at Marcus with wide eyes and open mouths. Mary the waitress stood frozen with a coffee pot in her hand. The cook had come out from the kitchen and stood with his spatula raised, shocked by what he had just witnessed. Marcus stood calmly in the center of the restaurant. He wasn't breathing hard. His sweater wasn't even wrinkled. He looked like he had just finished a casual conversation, not disabled 2 dangerous men in hand-to-hand combat. Jake was on the floor, moaning and holding his broken wrist. Tony was slumped against the wall, groaning and trying to catch his breath. Marcus pulled out his cell phone and called 911. "This is Marcus Reynolds at Danny's Diner on Main Street," he said calmly into the phone. 2 men attempted to assault a customer. They are both currently incapacitated. We need police and possibly an ambulance. There are no other injuries. He hung up and turned to Sophie, who was still sitting in the booth, her eyes wide with shock and amazement. "Are you hurt?" Marcus asked gently. Sophie shook her head. She couldn't speak. She couldn't believe what had just happened. Marcus looked at Emma, who was standing on her seat in their booth, staring at her father with confusion and worry. "It's okay, sweetheart," Marcus said to Emma. "Everything is fine. Daddy just helped someone. The police are coming." Then Marcus turned to the other customers. "Is anyone else hurt? Did anyone else have any problems with these men?" Everyone shook their heads no. Marcus nodded. He went back to his booth and sat down next to Emma. He pulled her close and hugged her. "Daddy, what happened?" Emma asked quietly. "Those men were being mean to that lady," Marcus explained in a calm voice. "So Daddy stopped them. Sometimes we have to protect people who can't protect themselves. Do you understand?" Emma nodded slowly. "Like when you tell me to stand up for kids at school who are being bullied?" "Exactly like that," Marcus said, kissing the top of her head. 2 police cars arrived within 5 minutes. 4 officers entered the diner with their hands on their weapons, not knowing what to expect. The senior officer was named James. He was in his 50s with gray hair and a weathered face. He had been a police officer in Riverside for 25 years. He knew almost everyone in town. Officer James looked at the scene. 2 men on the floor, injured but alive. A booth full of scared customers, and Marcus Reynolds sitting calmly with his daughter, finishing his coffee. "Marcus?" Officer James said with surprise. "What happened here?" "Those 2 men were threatening and assaulting that young woman," Marcus said, pointing to Sophie. "They grabbed her. She asked them to let her go. They refused. I intervened." Officer James looked at Jake and Tony. He looked at Marcus. He looked at the other witnesses. "Did anyone else see what happened?" Officer James asked the restaurant. Everyone started talking at once. Everyone had a slightly different version of the story, but they all agreed on the basic facts. The two men had threatened Sophie. They had grabbed her. Marcus had stopped them. Mary the waitress spoke up clearly. Those men were going to hurt her. I could see it in their eyes. Marcus saved her. He stopped them before they could do something terrible. He was amazing. It was like watching a movie, but real. Officer James called for backup and an ambulance. The paramedics arrived and treated Jake's broken wrist and Tony's various injuries. Both men were handcuffed and taken to the hospital under police guard. Officer James took statements from everyone. When he got to Marcus, he asked, "Marcus, where did you learn to fight like that?" Marcus hesitated. He looked at Emma, who was listening to everything. He looked at Sophie, who was watching him with gratitude and curiosity. He looked at all the people in the diner who were staring at him like he was a superhero. "I was in the Navy," Marcus said simply. "I had special training. That's all." Officer James raised his eyebrows. He knew there was more to the story, but he didn't push. "Well, from what I can see, you acted in defense of another person. You used appropriate force to stop an assault in progress. You'll need to come to the station later to give a full statement, but I don't see any problems here." "You did good, Marcus." Marcus nodded. "Thank you, officer." After the police left with Jake and Tony, the diner slowly returned to normal. People went back to their meals, though they kept glancing at Marcus with new respect and curiosity. Sophie approached Marcus's booth. Her hands were still shaking slightly, but her face showed determination. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for helping me. Those men, they've been following me. I didn't know what to do. You saved me." Marcus stood up. "You don't need to thank me. I'm glad I could help. Are you okay? Do you need anything?" Sophie shook her head. Tears filled her eyes. "I don't know how to repay you." "You don't need to repay me," Marcus said firmly. "Just stay safe. And if those men or anyone else bothers you again, call the police immediately." Sophie nodded. She looked at Emma, who was watching their conversation with big, curious eyes. "You're very brave," Sophie said to Emma. "Your daddy is a hero." Emma smiled. "I know. He's the best daddy in the whole world." Sophie smiled through her tears. "I can see that." She gave Marcus her phone number and email address. "If you ever need anything, computer design work, graphic design, anything, please let me know. I want to help you somehow." Marcus took the information. "Thank you. I will." Sophie left the diner. Marcus and Emma finished their breakfast in a restaurant that now buzzed with excited conversation about what had just happened. By Sunday morning, everyone in Riverside knew about Marcus Reynolds. The story spread through the small town like wildfire. People talked at church. They talked at the grocery store. They talked at the gas station. They talked on social media. "Did you hear about Marcus Reynolds? The quiet guy who fixes computers. He used to be a Navy SEAL. I heard he took down 2 guys in 15 seconds. Like something out of an action movie." Mary said it was the most incredible thing she'd ever seen. She said he moved like a professional fighter. He saved that poor woman who moved here from the city. She was being threatened by criminals. The local newspaper, the Riverside Gazette, ran a front-page story on Monday. "Local hero, computer repairman reveals Navy SEAL past, stops assault at Danny's Diner." The article detailed the incident and included interviews with witnesses. It described Marcus's calm demeanor and precise fighting skills. It mentioned that he was a single father raising his daughter alone after his wife died. The article also revealed more about Sophie. She agreed to be interviewed and told her story. She explained that the two men were connected to her ex-boyfriend's criminal activities. She had moved to Riverside to escape that life, but they had tracked her down to collect a fake debt. Marcus didn't want the attention. He preferred his quiet life. But the town wouldn't let the story die. People approached him at the grocery store to shake his hand. Parents at Emma's school asked him to give talks about safety and self-defense. The owner of the computer repair shop told Marcus he was getting more business because people wanted to meet the Navy SEAL hero. Marcus handled it all with quiet grace. He thanked people for their kind words but insisted he was just a regular person who did what anyone should do, help someone in danger. 3 days after the incident, Sophie came to the computer repair shop where Marcus worked. She carried a box wrapped in colorful paper. "Hi Marcus," she said when she entered. "Is this a bad time?" Marcus looked up from the laptop he was repairing. "Not at all. Come in. What can I do for you?" Sophie placed the box on the counter. "I wanted to thank you properly. This is for Emma. I heard she likes to draw, so I got her a professional art set with colored pencils, markers, and a sketchbook." Marcus opened the box. Inside was a beautiful collection of art supplies that must have cost over $100. "Sophie, this is too much," Marcus said. "You don't need to do this." "Yes, I do," Sophie said firmly. "You saved my life. Let me do this small thing to say thank you." Marcus looked at her. He saw genuine gratitude in her eyes. He saw kindness and strength. He saw someone who had been through difficult times but refused to let those times define her. "Emma will love this," Marcus said. "Thank you." They talked for a few minutes. Sophie asked about Emma. Marcus asked about Sophie's graphic design business. The conversation flowed easily and naturally. "Would you and Emma like to have dinner with me this week?" Sophie asked. "I'm a pretty good cook. I'd like to make you both a meal to say thank you." Marcus hesitated. He didn't usually socialize much. He kept his life focused on Emma and work. But something about Sophie made him want to say yes. "We'd like that," Marcus said. "How about Saturday evening?" Sophie's face lit up with a beautiful smile. "Perfect. I'll text you my address." Over the next few weeks, Sophie, Marcus, and Emma became a regular group. They had breakfast at the diner every Saturday. They went to the park together on Sunday afternoons. They ran into each other at the grocery store and the library and the coffee shop. Sophie learned that Marcus had a dry sense of humor that came out when he was comfortable. She learned that he loved reading history books. She learned that he was very patient with Emma but also very strict about rules and behavior. Marcus learned that Sophie was an amazing artist. She could draw anything. She could design anything. He learned that Sophie had read almost every book in the library. He learned that Sophie was funny and kind and brave. Emma loved Sophie. She asked her father every day, "Is Sophie coming today? When will we see Sophie again? Can Sophie have dinner with us?" One afternoon, they went to the park together. Emma was playing on the swings. Marcus and Sophie sat on a bench nearby, watching her. "She really likes you," Marcus said to Sophie. "I really like her too," Sophie said. "She is an amazing kid." "She is. But I worry about her," Marcus said. He looked at Emma playing. "I worry that she misses having a mother. I worry that I am not enough for her." Sophie put her hand on Marcus's arm. "You are enough for her. You are more than enough. She has a father who loves her and shows up every day. That is everything." Marcus looked at Sophie. He looked into her brown eyes. He saw kindness there. He saw strength. He saw someone who understood. "Thank you," he said. "For being here, for helping me, for helping Emma." "Thank you for protecting me," Sophie said. "Thank you for saving me." They sat together in silence, watching Emma play. One evening, Sophie asked Marcus directly about his Navy days. They were sitting on his porch. Emma was asleep inside. "Tell me about the Navy," Sophie said. "Tell me about what you did." Marcus was quiet for a long time. He looked out at the street. "I was a Navy SEAL," he said. "For 9 years, I trained and fought and did things that I cannot talk about. I lost friends. I did things that sometimes still give me nightmares." Sophie listened. She did not interrupt. "But I was good at it," Marcus continued. "I was very good at it. I was a leader. My team trusted me with their lives. I led missions in places that most Americans have never heard of. Places that were very dangerous." "And then you left?" Sophie asked. "Yes," Marcus said. "Laura died when I was deployed. I was in a country in the Middle East when the call came. I was leading a mission. We were in the middle of an operation when my commander told me my wife had died. There was a problem with her heart. She died before anyone knew she was sick." Sophie saw the pain in Marcus's face. "I finished the mission," Marcus said. "Because that is what you do." But inside, I was breaking. When I got home, Emma was with neighbors. She was 5 years old. She did not understand that her mother was not coming back. She kept asking when Mommy was coming home from the hospital. Marcus's voice got quieter. "I held her while she cried. I told her that Mommy was in heaven. I told her that Mommy was watching her from heaven." But Emma did not understand. Emma only knew that her mother was gone. Sophie took Marcus's hand. "That is when I decided to leave the Navy," Marcus said. "My commanding officer tried to convince me to stay. He offered me desk jobs. He offered me training assignments. He said my skills were valuable. But I said no. I told him I had to be a father. I told him I could not risk my life anymore. I could not leave my daughter. Not anymore." "Do you regret it?" Sophie asked. Marcus looked at Sophie. "No. Not for 1 second. Emma is my life. Being her father is more important than any mission. More important than any medal, more important than anything." "You are a good man, Marcus," Sophie said. "I am trying to be," Marcus said. "Some days are easier than others." 2 months after meeting Sophie at the diner, Marcus's life became more complicated. He received a call from Officer James. "Marcus, we have a problem," Officer James said on the phone. "Jake got out on bail. His lawyer says he can be released because he is waiting for trial. He will be back in Riverside in a few days." Marcus felt something cold move through his body. Jake was back. Jake was coming back to town. "What about Tony?" Marcus asked. "Tony got a longer sentence because he has more criminal history," Officer James said. "But Jake is only facing robbery charges from the diner. His lawyer says he should get bail." Marcus hung up the phone. He looked at Emma, who was drawing at the kitchen table. She was so innocent. She did not know that bad things were coming. She did not know that danger was coming back to their small town. That night, Marcus called Sophie. "I need to talk to you about something," Marcus said. "Can you come to my house tomorrow?" Sophie came to Marcus's house the next day. They sat in his living room while Emma was at school. "Jake is being released on bail," Marcus said. "He will be back here soon. I do not want him near you or Emma." Sophie felt fear move through her body. She remembered the feeling of Jake's hand grabbing her arm. She remembered being afraid. "What do we do?" Sophie asked. "We stay alert," Marcus said. "We watch for him. We keep Emma safe. And if he tries anything, we call the police immediately." Sophie nodded. But she was scared. A week later, Sophie was leaving her apartment to go to the coffee shop. It was a sunny afternoon. The town seemed safe. But as she walked down the street, she saw him. Jake. He was standing across the street from her apartment, watching her. Sophie's heart jumped. She started walking fast toward the main street where there were people. Jake followed her. Soon Tony was there too. And there was another man Sophie did not know. Sophie ran into the hardware store. She told the store owner, Mr. Williams, what was happening. Mr. Williams moved to the window with a serious face. He had a gun under the counter. Sophie called Marcus. Marcus, I am in danger. 3 men are following me. They are outside the hardware store, Sophie said. Her voice was shaking. Stay inside, Marcus said. His voice changed. It became the voice of a soldier. Stay in the store where people can see you. I am coming. I am 5 minutes away. Marcus picked up Emma from school early. He took her to Mrs. Chen's house, an older woman who watched Emma sometimes. Can Emma stay here for a few hours? Marcus asked. It is an emergency. Of course, Mrs. Chen said. She saw the serious look on Marcus's face. She did not ask questions. Marcus drove fast to the hardware store. He parked on the side street where Jake could not see him. He went in through the back door. Sophie, he called. I am here, Sophie said, coming out from the back. Marcus looked out the window. 3 men were standing outside. Stay here, Marcus said. I am calling Officer James. Officer James came quickly. He talked to the men. He asked them why they were there. The men said they were just waiting for a friend. They said they did nothing wrong. Officer James did not believe them. But he had no proof. I cannot arrest them for just standing here, Officer James told Marcus. Unless they make a threat or try to hurt someone, my hands are tied. Marcus watched the men through the window. He saw the anger in their eyes. He knew they were planning something. They will do something, Marcus said to Officer James. I can feel it. Men like this always do. Officer James increased the police patrols around Sophie's apartment and the town. But it was not enough. Marcus knew it was not enough. That night, rain fell very hard on Riverside. It rained so hard that the streets became like rivers. The town seemed to shut down because of the rain. Sophie worked in her apartment above the bookstore. She tried to draw and work on her designs. But her mind kept thinking about Jake. She kept thinking about the fear she felt. Her phone rang. It was Marcus. Sophie, I am worried. Can you come to my house? You can stay in the guest room. You will be safe there, Marcus said. Yes, I will come, Sophie said. She wanted to be somewhere safe. She wanted to be with Marcus. She put on her raincoat and grabbed her keys. She locked her apartment door and started to go downstairs. But then she heard a noise from the bookstore below. It sounded like something breaking. It sounded like glass breaking. Sophie stopped. She listened. She heard footsteps moving around in the dark bookstore below. Someone had broken into the bookstore. Sophie ran back into her apartment and locked the door. She called Marcus again. They are here, she whispered. In the bookstore downstairs. I heard someone break in. Bathroom. Go to the bathroom and lock the door. Do not make any noise. I am 5 minutes away, Marcus said. Sophie moved quietly through her apartment. She went to the bathroom. She locked the door. She turned off the light. She sat in the bathtub so she would be small and hidden. Through the thin walls, she could hear footsteps climbing the stairs. She heard her apartment door being hit. Jake was trying to break it down. He hit it once. The door shook. He hit it twice. The door began to crack. We know you are in here, Jake's voice called. Come out and we can talk. Come out or we come in and get you. Sophie did not move. She did not make any sound. She sat in the dark bathtub and tried not to breathe loud. Jake's friends looked through her apartment. They knocked things over. They did not care about being careful. "Check the bathroom," Jake said. They found the bathroom door. They began to hit it. The door was old. The wood was soft. It would not take many hits to break through. "Come out, lady," one of them said. "We just want to talk to you about your boyfriend. We just want to have a conversation about that seal." Sophie looked around the small bathroom. She found the shower curtain rod. It was made of aluminum. It was not very strong. But it was all she had. She pulled down the shower curtain. The rod came off the wall. Sophie pulled down the curtain and held the rod like a staff or stick. She stood with her back against the wall of the bathtub. Her legs were shaking. Her hands were shaking. But she was ready to fight if she had to. The bathroom door began to crack and break. One more hit would break it down. But then, everything changed. There was a loud crash from the living room. There was a shout of pain. A man's voice screaming. There was the sound of someone hitting the floor hard. Then there was more sounds of fighting. Sounds of bodies hitting walls, sounds of things breaking, sounds of men crying out in pain. Then quiet. "Sophie," Marcus's voice came from outside the bathroom door. "It is safe. Open the door. You are safe now." Sophie opened the bathroom door with shaking hands. The scene in her apartment was terrible. Jake lay on the floor near the coffee table. He was not moving. His face was bruised. Another man was slumped against the wall, blood coming from his nose. The third man was nowhere to be seen. He had run away. Marcus stood in the center of the apartment. His knuckles were raw and bleeding. There was a cut above his eye dripping blood. But he was standing tall. He was standing strong. When Marcus saw Sophie, his whole face changed. Relief broke through all the adrenaline and fighting. "Are you hurt?" he asked, moving to her in 2 fast steps. Sophie shook her head. She was not hurt. She was just scared. Marcus put his arms around Sophie and held her. He held her while she shook. "You are safe now," he said quietly. "I have you. You are safe." Police cars came fast. Officer James arrived with paramedics. They checked Sophie. They checked Marcus. They took statements. Jake and his friend were put in handcuffs. They would face serious charges this time. Breaking and entering, attempted assault, violating bail conditions. This time they would go to prison for a long time. The third man came to the police station the next morning and turned himself in. "You cannot stay in your apartment tonight," Officer James told Sophie. "The door is broken. Your apartment is not safe." "She will stay with us," Marcus said. He looked at Sophie. "If that is okay with you." Sophie nodded. "Yes. I want to stay with you." Marcus drove Sophie to his house. Mrs. Chen had already put Emma to bed. Emma was sleeping peacefully in her bedroom, not knowing about the danger that had come to Sophie. Marcus showed Sophie to the guest room. It was a small room with a twin bed and a desk. There was a window that looked out at the street. "Thank you," Sophie said. "Thank you for saving me. Thank you for everything." "I will always protect you," Marcus said. "Always. I promise you that." That night, Sophie slept in the unfamiliar bed. But she felt safe for the first time in months. The next morning, Sophie woke up to the smell of pancakes cooking. She came into the kitchen and found Marcus making pancakes. Emma was setting the table with napkins and forks. "Good morning," Emma said with joy and energy. "We are making pancakes. Do you like pancakes, Sophie?" Sophie smiled. The fear from the night before seemed like a dream. "I love pancakes," Sophie said. They sat together and ate. Emma talked about school and her art project and her new book. Marcus smiled and listened to every word like she was telling him the most important things in the world. After breakfast, Emma showed Sophie her drawing book. One drawing made Sophie's heart stop. It showed 3 people holding hands. A tall man, a woman with curly hair, and a small girl between them. Above them, Emma had written in careful, child letters, "Our family." Sophie felt tears in her eyes. Happy tears. "Emma, what is this?" Sophie asked gently. "That is us," Emma said seriously. "We are a family. Daddy says family is not just people you are born with. Family is people who stay when things get scary. You stayed. So you are family." Sophie looked at Emma. Then she looked at Marcus. Marcus's eyes were wet too. He was crying happy tears. Sophie crouched down and hugged Emma. She held the little girl tight. "I love you, Emma," Sophie said. "I love you too," Emma said. That evening, after Emma was in bed, Sophie and Marcus sat on the back porch. The night was cool and quiet. Fireflies blinked in the darkness like small lights of hope. "I came to this town to hide," Sophie said quietly. "I came here to be alone and heal from my past." "And now?" Marcus asked. "Now I found something better than healing," Sophie said. "I found a home. I found people who see me. I found you and Emma. I found my family." Marcus took Sophie's hand. He pulled her close. "I have been alone for 2 years," Marcus said. "I thought that being Emma's dad was enough. I thought that love for my daughter was all I could feel. But then you came. You and your curly hair and your kind eyes and your brave heart." "Marcus," Sophie said softly. "I am in love with you, Sophie," Marcus said. "I love you. And I love how you love Emma. I love how kind you are. I love your strength. I love you." Sophie felt tears come to her eyes again. "I love you too," Sophie said. "I love you so much." Marcus kissed Sophie gently. It was a kiss that said everything they could not say with words. It was a kiss that said they had found each other. It was a kiss that said they would be together. 3 months later, it was Saturday morning at Danny's diner. Marcus, Emma, and Sophie sat at their table by the window. This was their table now. Everyone in town knew it. People always left this table empty for them. Emma colored in her drawing book. She was drawing a picture of the 3 of them flying through the sky like superheroes. Marcus and Sophie shared the newspaper and drank coffee together. A new customer came into the diner. He looked around the busy restaurant. His eyes landed on their table. He saw Emma with her colored pencils. He saw Marcus and Sophie sitting close together, holding hands under the table. The man leaned over to Mary, the waitress. "Who is that man over there?" the customer asked, pointing at Marcus. Mary smiled a warm smile. "Oh, that is Marcus. He is a really good man." "Does he work here?" the customer asked. "No," Mary said. "He works at the computer repair place in town. But he comes here every Saturday morning with his daughter Emma and his girlfriend Sophie. He looks like he could be a fighter," the customer said. "Like maybe he was military." Mary smiled even bigger. "He was Navy. A SEAL. But now he is just a dad. A really good dad." The customer nodded and went to sit at his table. Marcus did not know that people were talking about him. He was too busy watching Emma draw. He was too busy listening to Sophie laugh at something funny in the newspaper. Emma showed them her new drawing. It showed the 3 of them holding hands and flying through the sky. Around them were stars and hearts and rainbows. "Is this us?" Sophie asked Emma. It is, Emma said proudly. We are a team. We are a family. And families are the strongest thing in the whole world. Marcus looked at the drawing. He thought about the man he used to be. The Navy SEAL, the man who was trained to fight and kill and protect others. That man had been strong. That man had been powerful. That man had medals and certificates and honors. But this man, the father who loved his daughter more than life. This man who had saved a woman and given her a new life. This man who had learned that real love and real family was stronger than any weapon. This man was stronger. Marcus pulled both Emma and Sophie close. They sat together in their booth by the window of Danny's diner. They sat in the morning sunlight that came through the glass. They sat as a family. I love you both so much, Marcus said. We love you too, Emma said. So much, Sophie added, squeezing his hand. They sat together in perfect peace. The three of them. A family made by choice, not by blood. A family made by love and courage and second chances. Outside the window, the town of Riverside continued on. People walked by on the street. Cars drove past. The world kept moving. But in their booth by the window, time seemed to stop. In their little corner of the world, there was only love. There was only family. There was only hope for tomorrow. Marcus looked at Emma. She was drawing again, adding more details to their family portrait. She drew with such joy and such hope for the future. He looked at Sophie. She was reading the newspaper, but she kept looking up at him and smiling. He thought about how life could change so fast. How one moment in a diner could change everything. How one act of protection could lead to love. How one woman's courage could lead to a family. He thought about Laura. He knew she would be happy if she could see him now. She would be happy that he had found love again. She would be happy that Emma had Sophie. She would be happy that her daughter had a complete family again. The pancakes came. They ate together. They talked together. They laughed together. This was Marcus's life now. Not missions and danger and fighting. But Saturday morning pancakes. But little girl drawings. But holding the hand of the woman he loved. This was better than any mission. This was better than any medal. This was home.